I'd like to introduce George from England, who takes LDN for multiple sclerosis. Good afternoon, George.
Good afternoon.
Could you tell me when you were diagnosed with MS?
I was diagnosed in 2003 on the 13th of January, but I'd been suffering with it for 2 years previous to that.
And how old were you?
I was 50 at the time of being diagnosed.
Right. And what symptoms were you experiencing which led to your diagnosis?
Initially, I was suffering fatigue, and because of the type of work I do, that it was affecting me later in the afternoon. And then the next real thing was balance.
Right. So once you'd been diagnosed with MS, were you offered any medication?
No, I wasn't offered any at the time, because it was in the very early stages. The neurologist said there's not really a lot to give you. It depends how MS develops.
And how was your MS before you discovered LDN?
Well, over the last 10 years, it has progressively got worse. That it's meant that I have changed my work. I still work, but I can't do as much as I used to. So it's affected my work, and it's affected what I can do, because obviously I can't walk very far, and it limits me. I mean, I've got transport. I've got a mobility scooter, a mobility car, but walking on its own is difficult.
Before you started LDN, how would you have rated your quality of life on a score of 1 to 10, 10 being the best? Well, the best 5. LDN has given me a little bit of hope. What would you say it is now?
I would say it's going, I would say 6 to 7 now.
Right. When you first started LDN, did you experience any side effects?
I did initially, because I'd been on drugs, prescribed drugs from the doctor. I had to sort of 2 weeks without taking any to clear it out of my system. And then when I went on to LDN, there are introductory side effects that I had for probably a week or two. But ever since, it's then determining what dosage of LDN is to take, and I built it up, and then got to a point when I think it's gone past the best stage. I've had to sort of go backwards.
And who prescribed LDN for you? Did you manage to get your own GP to prescribe it?
No, my GP, I tried for 2 years for my GPs to prescribe it, and they were reluctant to prescribe it. I tried the neurologist at the hospital, and they wouldn't prescribe it. I sourced it off the internet from a chemist in Glasgow, and then I had to have a prescription. So I went again on the internet, and I registered with a doctor in London who will prescribe me the drug.
Good. So what would you say LDN has done for you, George?
Well, the noticeable effects that, I mean, I had a problem because it affects your bladder, and that has improved. Sleep has improved, not as much as I'd like, but it has improved. Now, when I feel the LDN at its best stage, my walking's improved, and the fatigue levels are better, but I still get those. I can't walk very far still, but I notice there is an improvement.
How long have you been taking it now?
Sorry?
How long have you been taking LDN?
I've been taking it from January.
Oh, right. So it's still relatively early days for you, really.
Yes, from what I've read, the only information I've got about LDN is what I've downloaded from the internet. And it did say it may take, 6 months plus before you really get the benefits of it.
Well, I've got MS and I was continued improving for about 18 months.
Okay.
Slowly. So hopefully you'll notice further improvement.
Yes, the biggest difficulty I've found is determining what level of, because it tells you different information tells you to start on 1.5 millilitres and build it up over every 2 weeks, and up to a maximum of 4.5. Well, I've got to 4.5, and I feel that some of the symptoms are increasing, so then I'm stepping backwards.
Yes.
To find the right level.
It's surprising. A lot of men can't tolerate over 3, it would seem.
Is that true?
Yes, they find 3 is the better dose. Don't ask me why.
From my experience over the last few months, I would say it is somewhere about the 3 that I felt the best.
Right.
At the moment, I've been up to 4.5. I'm on the way down again, so I should probably get to 3. I'm about 3.5 now, so I've got to leave it take 3.5 for 2 weeks to just give it time to settle and see how it is.
That's right. Yes. What would you say to other people who are contemplating trying LDN?
Well, the problem is when you've got MS, you don't get a lot of hope from the NHS, and you've got to try. You feel you want to try something. There was another drug available. Well, not readily available, Sativex, which was on the possible to get it from a doctor. There was another one he wouldn't prescribe. So LDN was the one I was able to get source on the internet.
Is your bladder okay now, George?
It's improved, yes. That is one of the benefits I've noticed. That's been better for me. Because that was one of the first things that bladder control, balance, and fatigue were probably the 3 biggest things I noticed right at the beginning. When I found out about LDN and read all the information, it seemed to tick all the boxes I wanted. The only one I haven't really noticed any benefit is that when it's a hot day, I suffer from the heat, and I haven't felt any benefit of that yet. Fortunately, we don't get many hot days.
True enough. We've had nothing but rain here for days.
Are you in England as well?
Yes, Norfolk.
Right. Yes, well, because of our climate, I think over the last few years there's only been about 2 or 3 days in the year where I've felt it really bad. Last year I had 2 days when it was too hot for me to go to work because it just knocks you out.
Yes.
So, but this year it's not been a problem so far. But you can feel it. You can feel it coming on when the heat's rising because you can feel, your legs are like a thermometer, and you can feel the heat affecting your legs. The warmer it gets.
And humidity is a terrible thing as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Because I know somebody who's got MS, and they went to visit their daughter in Africa, and she said she had no problem with the heat because it was very dry, no humidity. So that proves it is the humidity, not the heat so much.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add, George, before we end?
Well, no. It's unless you've got any questions you'd like to add.
No, that's it. So I'd like to say thank you.